Chapter 1. Wow, it's huge, Ash said, craning his neck to look up at the Dragon Spiral Tower. Pika, Ash's Pokemon partner agreed from his shoulder. Ash's friends Iris and Celine were by his side, gazing up at the huge stone ruins in awe. Iris's Exew liked to hang out on her shoulder, just like Pikachu did with Ash. They'd all been traveling together on a journey to the White Ruins. Their friend Professor Cedric Juniper had discovered that the ruins might contain important data about the mysterious Light Stone and the legendary Pokemon Reshiram. They couldn't wait to join him there. Just then, they saw an SUV driving toward them on the dirt road leading to the tower. A man with a beard and sunglasses waved from the car's window. "Hey there, everyone," he called. "Are you by any chance close friends with Professor Juniper?" "We are, but why?" Ash asked. "I happen to be Professor Cedric Juniper's assistant, and he's waiting for you at the White Ruins," the man said. He'd come out to Dragon Spiral Tower to pick them up. Ash and his friends happily climbed into the SUV. Little did they know that two lookouts in an armored vehicle were nearby, watching and listening to them. They were on Team Plasma, a mysterious group with an evil plan to target and control Pokemon with the ultimate goal of world domination. When the two spies saw Ash and his friends drive off toward the White Ruins, they followed. "Shall I contact Lord Getsis?" one asked the other. "After N shows up," his companion responded. And little did the Team Plasma spies know that they, too, were being watched and followed. Team Rocket, Ash's longtime rivals, had Team Plasma in their sights from a nearby hilltop. The two teams had recently clashed. They did not get along. "So the White Ruins are about to have Twerpish visitors," Jesse said. "I couldn't care less about ruins, but the Lightstone is another story," James added. "Looks like Team Plasma shares your enthusiasm," Jesse commented. Their Pokemon companion, Meowth, was busy on his computer. He was pleased with how successfully the transmitter he'd planted was helping their spying. "Soon we'll grab Pikachu," Jesse imagined. "The Lightstone too," James added. "I can't wait to stop Team Plasma," Meowth said. He held up his razor-sharp claws. "I can't wait to make noodles out of those goons." Soon, Ash and his friends had reached the White Ruins. Professor Juniper's assistant led them toward the excavation. They were below the forest in a shallow canyon that had a stone floor placed by an ancient civilization. "Wow," Ash said, looking around. "This place is humongous," Iris commented. Axew agreed. "It's like tasting an ancient exotic spice for the very first time," Celine said. He couldn't help describing his feelings about the place in food-related terms. After all, he owned a restaurant with his brothers in Striaton City. They reached the excavation site. Ash, Iris, and Celine were interested to see a number of Timber, Conkeldurr, and Golurk hard at work. The strong Pokemon were lifting and moving heavy stones around the site. "We never would have made it this far without their combined strength," Professor Juniper's assistant explained. "They're excellent excavators." Ash loved watching them work. "Wow," he said. "I wish N could see all this." He was thinking of his friend N, whom he'd met on his earlier adventures in Unova. N was a sensitive soul and could hear the inner voices of Pokemon. The professor's assistant drew Ash from his thoughts. "Let's move along. We may have had a monumental find this way," he said, leading them toward an opening into the rock face. "We haven't fully excavated the entire site yet, but the White Ruins are by far the largest we've found to date." They walked down a long stone tunnel, passing many hallways branching off to the sides. When they turned down one, there were even more hallways branching off it, too. "Feels like you could get totally lost in here," Iris said, glancing around. "XU," her Pokemon agreed. Finally, they reached Professor Juniper's workspace. He stood there He stood before what looked like a large doorway that was blocked up with a grid of square stones. Each stone had a symbol carved into it. The professor studied his notebook, his brow furrowed. "Professor Juniper," asked Kaltum. The professor faced them and cried, "No! Stay put! Don't take another step!" Everyone gasped in fright. "If there were any danger," he finished cheekily. Everyone groaned, remembering that the professor always spoke very dramatically. "I guess you still have a way with words, Professor," Iris said with a chuckle. He laughed heartily. "You haven't forgotten Rule 1 for adventurers, have you?" he asked. "Act after I finish my thought," Selene replied. "How could we?" "You're exactly right," the professor agreed. "And thank you for coming all this way." "No, thank you," Selene replied. Ash was eager to get moving. "So please, Professor, tell us about this great discovery," he said. Professor Juniper turned toward the doorway. "From what I can understand of the ancient hieroglyphs etched on this mural, behind that door lies a most important something related to the legendary Pokemon Reshiram. That's the legendary dragon type said to control fire," Iris said. "And the legend says it generates flames from its tail that can burn through anything," Selene added. Iris, Selene, and Ash marveled at what the mysterious door might reveal. Learning more about Reshiram would be a monumental discovery indeed. Professor Juniper was ready to try opening the door. The wall of stone blocks was like a giant puzzle with one piece missing. The professor slid one stone over to the right, then another downward, then another to the left, and another upward. He stood back, and a stone slid forward on its own to fill the missing space. Then the symbols on the stones began to glow. The whole doorway blazed with bright blue light. When it faded, the stones had disappeared. Chapter 2. The group walked through the empty doorway into an enormous round chamber with stairs leading downward. They descended to the bottom and looked around. Light was coming through a hole high up in the ceiling. "Fascinating," Professor Juniper observed. "This seems to be the remains of a dormant volcano." The chamber held a circle of large stones, and in the center was a carved pedestal with a spherical rock on top of it. The rock was an unusual color, a shimmery swirl of purple and light green. "What is it?" Ash asked. "That's the Lightstone," Professor Juniper said. Everyone gasped. Then the professor continued. "Or it's just a round rock." Everyone groaned. He'd struck again. But Ash was intrigued. "Do you know what the Lightstone is?" he asked Iris. "Some say it's Reshiram transformed into another shape," Iris said. Ash and Selene were excited to hear that. "That means we could be seeing the actual Reshiram here, right in front of our eyes," Selene said. "Perhaps," Professor Juniper replied as he approached the stone. "Let's get it out of here for a closer look." He lifted it up, and light began to swirl from within it. Then it burst into magical flame. Tails of fire shot out in all directions, then came together in one powerful stream that snaked its way up into the air. It shot straight upward out of the hole in the ceiling in a huge blast. From far away, outside the ruins, it looked like the volcano they were inside had come back to life. In fact, N could see it from a nearby hill. He was surprised to see the sudden stream of fire, but quickly understood what it was. "That's where you've been, Reshiram," he murmured. N dismounted from the soft spot he was riding. "Thank you for bringing me here," N said to it, rubbing its face. "It's dangerous from this point on. You should return to the forest." Softspot gave N a lick on the cheek to show that it understood. N wasn't the only one who had seen the stream of fire. Elsewhere in the forest, a group from Team Plasma had been approaching the White Ruins, and they were shocked by the sight. "Analyze it, quickly," commanded Barrett, the group leader. Back inside the volcano, Professor Juniper was still holding the stone. The stream of firelight ended, and his companions all ran over. "Professor, you're not hurt, are you?" his assistant asked. No, I'm just fine, the professor said. Since the stone's back to normal, let's go. The group came back into the open air with the stone. Okay, I'll go and get the analysis equipment, the professor's assistant said, heading off. Professor Juniper set down the case he'd put the stone in and took it out. So, Professor, is this really the Lightstone? Ash asked. Professor Juniper was examining the stone with a jeweler's loupe on its eye. He said, Well, although I can't be 100% certain without a close analysis of the molecular structure, no, this is not the Lightstone. Everyone gasped, surprised, until the professor continued speaking. It's something I can't say for sure just yet. Everyone groaned. He was too much. But his information was still useful. Hold on, Ash said. If you just told us there's no proof that it's not the Lightstone, Iris continued, then that means there's a good chance it is the Lightstone, Celine finished. Nearby, Barrett was spying on them from behind a crumbling stone wall. A Team Plasma grunt approached him. Agent Barrett, my analysis shows that a burst of energy was from the Lightstone, he reported. So it is real, Barrett said, thoughtful. Let's report this to Aldith and Lord Getsis right away. Ash asked Professor Juniper. Okay, so if you've really got the Lightstone, how do you change it back into Reshiram? I don't know just yet, the professor replied. But here's what the White chapter of Pokemon mythology has to say. He set down the stone to explain the legend further. When a person who is searching deeply for the truth seeks it, Reshiram will appear. At first, Reshiram will battle with that person as a test of their strength and heart. And if it decides that the person is a hero, it'll pass on the wisdom it has accumulated over thousands of years, and then bare its fangs against the hero's enemies. Professor Juniper continued. From that point on, Reshiram will treat the hero with kindness, as a parent would treat a child. But although the person called the hero will be able to attain great riches and power, the goodness in the heart will be lost, and the country built by the hero will be consumed in flame, another voice added. Then Reshiram will depart. Chapter 3. Ash looked around, looking for who had spoken. What was that? En was standing on a rise of stone above them. Ash and Pikachu were happy to see their friend, and Agent Barrett was very interested to know he'd arrived. He's finally shown up, Barrett reported over his headset to Aldith. She was flying in a high-tech helicopter toward the White Ruins with Colress, a Pokemon researcher. Understood, Aldith said to Barrett. Continue surveillance. We'll arrive on location in 10 minutes. Team Plasma's leader, Getsis, checked with the helicopter via video call. He predicted that En would come. Lord Getsis, I promise you that this time En will be secured, Aldous said. He had better be, Getsis replied menacingly. Oh, and Dr. Colress, what is the status of the completed device? Colress's eyes were in constant motion as he stared at the stream of numbers scrolling across the computer on his lap. No problems whatsoever, he said to Getsis. So, when Reshiram appears, you know what to do, Getsis said. Yes, without a doubt, Colress agreed with a smug smile. Ash asked En what he was doing at the White Ruins. I detected suspicious activity by Team Plasma, En said, and I sensed the presence of Reshiram. Could be the Lightstone, Iris said. Sounds like it's me. Yes, it seemed rather sad, En agreed. Professor Juniper looked up. Who's this young man? He asked. He's En and he's a friend of ours, Ash said. A friend? En thought. He considered Pokemon friends, but not often other humans. En addressed Professor Juniper. Professor, I'm aware of who you are, and I'd like to know what you're planning to do with the Lightstone. I'm going to take my time and investigate it thoroughly, the professor replied confidently. After all, Reshiram and the Lightstone are part of my lifelong research. Oh, I see, En said, bowing his head. Then there's nothing else to say. He leapt down more smoothly than seemed possible, grabbed the container with the lightstone in it, and made another impossibly large leap away from them. Ash and his friends were shocked. "Anne, wait! Why did you do that?" he called. "Pika Pika!" Pikachu was just as confused. Anne turned back and declared, "I can't let Professor Juniper take this." "Why can't you?" Iris asked. "Because, long ago, I witnessed Reshiram destroy Team Plasma and then fly away," Anne answered. He remembered that terrible, fiery day. He continued, "I've always wanted to ask Reshiram why. Why burn everything up like that? What was it so angry about? And what does it think of people? Reshiram is bigger than life itself to me, and if it's angry with people, I want to quiet that anger. I want all Pokemon to live in freedom. I want to know what is the truth and what is that is wrong. I want Reshiram to show us the way." "So why don't you work with Professor Juniper?" Ash asked. "No," Anne replied disdainfully. "He confirmed what I suspected. The Lightstone is just an object of scientific interest to him." "That's not true," Professor Juniper protested. "Or maybe it is," he added. Iris was exasperated. "Will you save that kind of talk for another time, please?" The professor was not helping the situation. Anne said, "This is how it has to be." Then he ran away with the Lightstone. "Anne! Hey, wait!" Ash called. He started running after him through the ruins. "Anne, come back!" Anne didn't slow down. "Ash, please, just let it go. Give it up," he said. "But Anne, I want to talk to you more about all this," Ash cried. Suddenly, the ground crumbled underneath his feet. Ash tumbled into a hole. Anne heard his scream and came back to help, but when he was a few feet away from Ash, the ground crumbled underneath him too. They were trying to figure out their next move when the whole area caved in. A new passageway had been created, a deep hole leading far underground. Iris and Celine had caught up with Ash and Anne in time to see them fall, but they weren't close enough to help. Anne had managed to grab the edge of the hole with one hand. The other hand still held the Lightstone. But Ash hadn't gotten a grip. He and Pikachu began slipping farther down among the fallen debris. Only Anne could help them, but he'd have to drop the Lightstone to do it. Anne took a deep breath, then dropped the stone and grabbed Ash's hand. "Thank you, Anne," Ash cried, holding on tight. But Anne could hold them both with one hand for only so long. Soon his hand slipped, and they dropped down, down, down. Iris and Celine reached the hole and looked down in dismay. They couldn't even see where their friends had fallen. Professor Juniper ran up and asked what had happened. "They fell in," Celine cried. "I'm going down there," Iris said, determined. "You can't," the professor said. "It's like a maze down there, and you'll only put yourself in danger. I'm sure they're both fine. Leave the exploration of the ruins to a pro like me." Iris was worried but reluctantly agreed. "Please be safe," she yelled down into the hole. Chapter 4. Pika P. Pikachu was worried about its best buddy. Ash was lying still on the ground. But then he opened his eyes and smiled at his Pokemon partner. "Hey, Pikachu. Thank goodness you didn't get hurt," he said. Then he sat up and realized where he was. "Hey, where's Anne?" he asked. "I'm right here," Anne answered, walking over. They were in a large underground room with stone walls. The floor was covered in a deep layer of sand, with stone columns and other debris poking out of it. "Ash, are you hurt?" "No, I'm fine," Ash replied. "Thanks for trying to save me." "Oh, please. I didn't really do anything," Anne said. "We were awfully lucky that the sand cushioned our fall. The Lightstone had landed nearby." They seemed to have fallen into the room through a large hole in the wall, but now it was blocked by rocks. Anne and Ash looked at each other. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's any other way to get out of here, Hen said. Above ground, Iris, Celine, and Professor Juniper heard a huge crash. As they were looking around to see what it was, a voice commanded, "Don't move!" It was Team Plasma. Members of the group were jumping out from behind the ruins all around them, each with a Pokeball in hand. "We have the White Ruins completely surrounded," Barrett said. "Don't do anything stupid. We'll be taking the Lightstone with us." "Impossible," the professor responded. "We don't have it." But Barrett was one step ahead. "We're aware that N took the Lightstone and then fell down into the ruins. Now step back." Iris, Selene, and the professor did as Barrett said. Trapped in the cavern, Ash and N huddled together on the ground. The Lightstone was at their feet, glowing fiery orange like a campfire. "I've been thinking a lot since I lost Ayu," N said. "Why do Pokemon love you as much as they do?" "Love me?" Ash asked, and continued. "I've been chasing after Team Plasma for such a long time, and I've witnessed all kinds of relationships between people and Pokemon. People who treat Pokemon like part of the family, people who work side by side with Pokemon, and people who abandon their Pokemon. And unlike myself, Concordia and Anthea have never left their closed-off world. I wish they'd learn more about the outside." Concordia and Anthea were N's otherworldly companions. Along with N, they had grown up with Team Plasma in isolation from society, until they recognized Ghetsis' true corrupt nature and escaped. Ash and his friends had helped them before, but Anthea and Concordia were still deeply distrustful of other people. N reached out for Pikachu and held it up. "Pika," Pikachu said happily. N smiled, then sighed. "I want to know why Pokemon exist in our world in the first place. What are they trying to tell us?" Ash stared at the Lightstone, letting him continue his meditation. "Maybe there's a perfect place somewhere in the world where people and Pokemon can live together in peace," N said. "But thinking of the Lightstone has nothing more than an object of scientific interest shows that people still think of Pokemon as creatures that only exist to serve their needs." "Oh, come on," Ash protested. "All that making them serve us stuff? I don't know about any of that. All I know is that my buddy Pikachu and all Pokemon are friends that I care a lot about." "Pika Pika," Pikachu agreed, but Em didn't seem convinced. Ash continued. "Anytime I've been sad or happy or really mad about something, Pokemon have always been there by my side through it all. And that's why I want to learn more and more about Pokemon, because they're my friends." "That's the reason?" I asked. "If we learn as much as we can about Pokemon, then that will help us become better friends with them," Ash replied. "So if it's true that Reshiram can be transformed from the Lightstone, I want to become friends with it too." And chuckled. With Reshiram? He hadn't considered that possibility. Up on the surface, Team Plasma was organizing their units, battling the excavation team's Pokemon, and getting their equipment ready. Aldith ordered Barrett to assemble a group to retrieve the Lightstone from N, beneath the ruins. Just as Barrett was going to execute the orders, "Don't move!" Professor Cedric's assistant grabbed Aldith and threatened her with a heavy pipe. "Who are you?" Barrett was shocked at this turn of events. "I wasn't planning to reveal my true identity until Ghetsis arrived, but I have no choice," the assistant said. Then he pulled off a full headmask to reveal an entirely different man underneath. "I'm Detective Looker of the International Police, and you're all under arrest." Iris and Selene were thrilled by this turn of events. Detective Looker quickly took control of the situation, moving Iris, Selene, and Professor Juniper to safety as some of the excavation team's Golurk approached. But Aldith wasn't worried. "Do you really think you can defeat a whole unit alone?" Whenever I make a move, the whole international police moves with me, Looker said. So rest assured, backup is on the way. Well, then I'd say they'd better hurry, came a chuckling voice. It was Colress, who who'd just driven up to the edge of a cliff above the group in a high-tech vehicle. The front of it looked like a satellite dish. What was that? Looker recognized how dangerous it was. No, it can't be, he cried. The Pokemon control device. Chapter 5. Colress activated the Pokemon control device. It shot out a blue beam of light that hit the Golurk. They cracked with blue energy, and then their eyes turned an evil red, and they started to go on a rampage against the excavation team they worked with. Colress was extremely satisfied. You should be grateful, he said. You're witnessing firsthand the immense power of a device that will change the entire planet. A device that completely takes over the mind of any Pokemon. Looker was disturbed. You finally perfected it. And that's not all, Alda said as she grabbed Barrett. Then the two of them glowed with green light and floated up to the Pokemon control device. We can transform Pokemon into weapons. Looker realized that they'd used telekinesis to ascend the cliff. Colress had forced the Golurk to use the move. Looker turned toward the mind-controlled Pokemon. Sorry, Golurk. We're fighting back. Celan tossed a Pokeball and called. You heard him, Crustle. Let's go. At the same time, Iris tossed her Pokeball and cried, Dragonite, come on out. Crustle and Dragonite appeared in a flash. The Golurk immediately started attacking them, and Celan and Iris directed their Pokemon to use Rock Slide and Flamethrower. Lights flashed, rocks fell, flame blasted, and smoke swirled. Alda authoritated a nearby Team Plasma unit to help the Golurk fight, and Barrett brought out Team Plasma's group of Liepard. Their moves blasted down, and Iris, Celan, Looker, and the Professor braced for their impact. From a cliff above the action, Team Rocket was observing the battle. How long are we going to stand up here and watch? Asked James. Until Team Plasma gets its grubby hands on the Lightstone, Meowth replied. Which we'll then grab for ourselves at the very last minute. And of course, Pikachu too, Jessie added. Meowth smirked. Until that last minute, let's just sit back, relax, and watch the fireworks. Deep underground, it was silent in the cavern where Ash and En sat. Then En straightened up with a start. Did you hear that? He asked. Huh? Ash didn't hear anything. Friends' voices. Their shouts, En said. Could Team Plasma be the cause of this? Ash did not like the sound of that. Come on, we've got to get out of here. Right, En agreed. There has to be another way out. We've just got to find it. He and Ash both ran to explore the cavern again. Team Plasma had organized a huge, coordinated attack. The group of Liepard, along with a big group of Golurk, Conkeldurr, and Timburr, who were now under Team Plasma's control, were charging forward. This is too dangerous for my taste, Celan added. Looker agreed. We've got to keep them back at all costs. Iris and Celan worked with their Pokemon to put up an amazing defense. Dragonite's Flamethrower hit the Liepard as Crustle's Rock Wrecker smashed into the Conkeldurr and Timburr. Then Celan called for Rock Slide from Crustle, and Iris had Dragonite freeze the wall of rock into place with Ice Beam. Team Plasma's Pokemon were stopped in their tracks. Now's your chance to get out of here, Looker said. Where do we escape to? Iris asked. Professor Juniper knew his way around. This way, he cried, and he, Iris, and Celan ran to hide. Soon, though, Golurk, Timburr, and Conkeldurr punched their way through the icy rock wall, clearing the way to advance along with the Liepard. But Dragonite and Crustle weren't giving up. They kept attacking, making direct hits with Flamethrower and Rockwrecker. So now they're going to insist on getting in our way, eh? Colress asked as he watched the scene from above the Pokemon control device. His fingers flew across his computer screen. He aimed the device's beam directly at Dragonite and Crustle. Celine, Iris, and Professor Juniper were watching from their hiding spot behind some of the ruins. The professor realized what was happening. "Oh no," he cried. "They're attempting to control your Pokemon. Get them back in their Pokeballs." Iris and Celine were shocked, but immediately pulled out their Pokeballs and called their Pokemon back in. Dragonite and Crustle returned, just in time. The beam from the Pokemon control device hit empty ground. "You! XU! Iris's buddy XU cheered from her shoulder. Iris gasped. "Stop! They'll try to control you too," she told XU, hiding it under her hair. Luckily, Team Plasma hadn't gained control of Iris's and Celine's Pokemon, but the Pokemon also weren't able to fight them. The villains cheered. "There's no one to stop us now!" Barrett ordered all the Pokemon under their control to attack. With glowing red eyes, the many Conkeldurr, Timburr, and Golurk reared back and marched forward. 5 Shadow Ball attacks from 5 Liepard blasted away the ruins that were hiding Celine, Iris, and the Professor. They ran out of the smoking rubble, but ended up right in Team Plasma's grasp. "It's over," one of the Team Plasma's grunts announced. Team Plasma bound up Professor Juniper, Iris, and Celine in metal cuffs that secured their arms against their bodies. They were trapped, and there was nothing they could do. Chapter 6. Detective Looker was hiding. He hadn't been caught by Team Plasma, but he was frustrated by not being able to help his friends more. "I know the international police backup is on the way, but at this rate, Team Plasma could grab the Lightstone," he muttered. "But even if I get out there now, I don't stand a chance." He didn't have any Pokemon, just the piece of pipe he was using as a weapon. Team Rocket was also watching the action from the sidelines, but they were happy to be there. Jesse and James were getting ready to make an entrance and try to steal the Lightstone, but Meowth encouraged them to keep waiting. "Slow and steady wins the race," he reminded them. Meanwhile, Ash, Pikachu, and N were still trying to get back above ground. They hadn't been able to find a passageway out of the cavern, so they'd started trying to dig their own tunnel out of the stone. It was exhausting work, and so far they'd made only a tiny dent in the wall. Ash noticed N had stopped working. "N, what's wrong?" he asked. "Are you sensing things out there again?" N shook his head, then bowed it with a somber look on his face. "I can't sense anything," he said. "I could hear their screams echoing loudly in my head, but now everything's quiet." Ash was worried, but then his optimism won out. "You know, N, Professor Cedric Juniper has taught us a whole lot of stuff. He has all these adventure rules," he said, and looked up, curious. Ash continued. "Adventure rule number 4. You never give up until the very end, because there's always got to be a way out. Get it?" He gave N a big grin. "I'm not giving up until the very end. So let's dig and get out of here." Ash went back to chipping away at the stone, and Pikachu resumed digging with renewed energy. Soon, though, Pikachu's paws were too sore to keep it up. "Pika," it said sadly. That made Ash realize his mistake. "Oh yeah, I forgot," he said. He pulled out his 5 Pokeballs from his belt. "Let's get everybody to help us out." He tossed them into the air, and one by one, Pokemon appeared in a flash. Oshawott, Pignite, Snivy, Crocodile, and Charizard, who let out a huge blast of flame. "Okay, gang," Ash said happily. "We want to get out of here, so will you give us a hand?" His Pokemon all cheered in agreement, and then started discussing their plan of action. Oshawott leaped up and sent a Hydro Pump blast ball into the wall of dirt, and watched, amazed. Hey, great idea, Ash said to Oshawott. That water will make the dirt a lot softer, so it's easier to use dig. When Oshawott finished, Crocodile stepped forward and jumped straight into the dirt to dig. Next, Charizard used Dragon Tail, aiming his swirling tail right into the tunnel Crocodile was making. Then Pignite and Snivy came over and helped move the dirt out of the way, handful by handful. Pikachu used its tail to scoop dirt too. Ash cheered on each of his Pokemon as they made their moves. They made such a great team. Oshawott held its paw up to Ash. Oshawott. Of course I'll help too. I'm coming, Ash answered, hurrying over. The team of friends kept it up, repeating the same moves to dig and dig, and had been watching the action as if in a trance. Incredible, he said to himself. Is that what it's like? The bond between Ash and his Pokemon? He shook his head and ran over to help dig next to his friend. On the surface, Aldith knew that her leader, Ghetsis, was soon approaching. She was anxious not to disappoint him. I've had enough. Force them to go underground quickly, she barked at Barrett. Hurry and secure N and bring me the Lightstone. Barrett jumped to action. Golurk, use Shadow Ball and widen that hole, he commanded. The Golurk blasted their Shadow Balls directly at the hole where Ash and N had disappeared. As the smoke cleared, Team Plasma's Pokemon approached the hole to see if they could get down, right as Crocodile burst through the ground behind them. The mind-controlled Pokemon and the Liepard stared at the Intimidation Pokemon down, and it popped back down on the ground with a Crocodile. But it wasn't running away. It was just making space for Charizard, who burst out of the surface with a huge roar. The rest of Ash's Pokemon jumped out behind Charizard, followed by Ash. He offered a hand to help Anne, who was climbing out with the Lightstone. Though Iris, Celine, Professor Juniper, and the excavation team were still locked up by Team Plasma, they were thrilled to see that their friends and the Lightstone were safe. Ash and Anne looked around, taking in the situation. They noticed Team Plasma's leaders up on the rise above them. So it was them, after all, Anne said. Barrett and Aldith also noticed the two young men. Secure N and the Lightstone immediately, Aldith ordered. Barrett commanded Liepard to use Shadow Ball at N. N didn't move out of the way quickly enough, but Ash's Charizard jumped in front of N and took the attack's hit. Then Golurk sent another Shadow Ball directly at Charizard, knocking it over. Pignite did not like to see that. It ran over to its friend, worried. As another Shadow Ball attack came toward Charizard, Pignite sent a flamethrower back at it, blasting the attack away in midair. Then Charizard lifted its head up and talked with Pignite. Pignite seemed to be telling Charizard to not push itself so much. The Pokemon clearly cared about one another. Anne watched the exchange and was astonished to observe their bond. Ash called out, Now, Pignite and Charizard, double flamethrower! The two Pokemon each blasted the move, and the two streams of fire twisted together into an extremely powerful attack. It made a direct hit to Team Plasma's Pokemon, and Pignite and Charizard cheered. Then Crocodile was ready to take a turn. To Ash's surprise, it spun around and started to use Dig. The huge cloud of dirt rained down directly onto Team Plasma's Pokemon. Ash praised the strength of Crocodile's Dig, and then saw that Oshawott and Snivy were asking to help too. Sure, Oshawott, use Hydro Pump. The stream of water smashed right into Team Plasma's Pokemon. Snivy, use Leaf Storm, Ash called, and the swirling leaves made a direct hit as well. His whole team of Pokemon cheered for one another, and N watched in awe. That strong bond isn't just between Ash and his Pokemon, Hen thought. When Ash is involved, an amazing bond forms along the Pokemon themselves. Barrett was frustrated that the battle had not gone his way, but Team Plasma had its secret weapon. Control those Pokemon too, Barrett said to Colress, who was more than happy to oblige. Professor Juniper, Selene, and Iris could see what was about to happen. Ash, quick! Get everyone back in their Pokeballs, Iris called. Hurry up or they'll be controlled. Controlled? Huh? Ash was surprised, but quick to act. He took out 2 Pokeballs and called Charizard and Krookodile back. Colress's beam was locked onto the remaining Pokemon, and he was just about to fire it when... No, you don't! Looker bellowed, running over to the Pokemon control device with his piece of pipe raised above his head. Before he could get to Colress, 2 Team Plasma grunts tackled him, but it was enough of a distraction for Ash to get Pignite, Oshawott, and Snivy safely back into their Pokeballs too. We made it, he said with relief. They're just fine. Can't control them now. Then he saw Pikachu standing nearby. Pika? Pikachu wasn't sure what was going on, but everyone else started to understand. What about Pikachu? Iris cried. Selene gasped. That's right. Pikachu doesn't like to go in its Pokeball. Ash was scared. He ran over to try to save his best buddy. But just as he was lunging to reach Pikachu, Colress's beam hit it. Chapter 7. Pikachu was surrounded by blue light. It was clearly trying to fight off the mind control, but the machine won out. Soon, Pikachu's eyes glowed an evil red. Ash was shocked. Surely his best Pokemon pal couldn't be turned against him. But Pikachu growled and crackled with electricity. He turned away from Ash, then fired a thunderbolt right at Iris, Selene, and Professor Juniper, who ran away as fast as they could, their arms still bound to their sides. Even Team Rocket, watching from a distance, was stunned by this turn of events. Ash couldn't bear to see Pikachu attacking his friends. He ran over and planted himself in front of the mouse Pokemon, who was still glowing with electricity. Pikachu, stop! He cried. Colress smirked at Ash's action. A foolish attempt, he said. Pikachu was growling, but Ash wasn't giving up. Hey, buddy, he said, smiling, and then he walked slowly toward his Pokemon. But Pikachu scowled and blasted Ash with a thunderbolt. Ash screamed in pain as he was shocked with electricity. N watched, worried. Even the strong bond between Ash and Pikachu can't prevent this, he thought. Iris, Selene, and Professor Juniper had taken refuge behind some rubble. They were scared for their friend. Stop! You're gonna hurt yourself, Ash, Iris called. Ash wasn't convinced. Once the attack ended, he stood up slowly, scorched and sore. Come on, Pikachu, it's me, he said. Don't you know me, buddy? But Pikachu just clenched its teeth and growled, its eyes glowing red. It's all right, I promise, Ash said as he got even closer and knelt down by his Pokemon. Pikachu was crackling with electricity. When Ash put his hands on its cheeks, Pikachu attacked with another thunderbolt, knocking Ash back. Ash! Oh no! Iris cried. Colress observed calmly. Trying to undo my control on your Pokemon is a complete waste of your energy, he said. N had seen enough. Stop it right now, he called up to Team Plasma. Do you want me to destroy the Light Stone? That caught their attention. N took the Light Stone out of its case and held it up. It swirled with fiery orange light. He continued. This is what you want, the Light Stone. And me too. Undo Pikachu's mind control and we're both yours. But if you refuse me, Aldith, what should we do? Barrett asked her. Getting the Lightstone is our primary objective, she said. Barrett called to Anne. Fine, it's a deal. We'll turn off the Eon wave that's controlling Pikachu. Now, bring the Lightstone up to us. Ash was lying stunned on the ground with Pikachu in his arms, though Pikachu's eyes glowing red. It was still under Team Plasma's control. Then, suddenly, the mind control ended, and Pikachu returned to itself. Pikachu looked up at Ash, upset. Then it fainted onto Ash's chest. Anne looked at Ash and Pikachu with affection. He said quietly, I won't allow them to hurt you anymore. I've learned so much from you, both of you. But Professor Juniper wasn't happy with Anne's sacrifice. No, he cried. You must not hand the Lightstone over to Team Plasma. Just then, a high-tech helicopter flew into sight. Ghetsis had arrived. Aldith and Barrett bowed when he landed. Sir, we have secured the Lightstone. We've captured Anne as well, Aldith told him. Very good, Ghetsis said, pleased. We'll prepare for the ceremony right away, Aldith said. Ghetsis nodded in assent. They set up on a special raised platform in the White Ruins. The fiery orange Lightstone was placed on a pedestal in the middle of a circle of unlit torches. As Ghetsis faced the stone, everyone was watching. Team Plasma, their Pokemon, and their prisoners. Team Rocket snuck down to watch too. They were preparing to jump in at the right moment. Only Ash and Pikachu weren't there. They were still lying on the stone ground where they'd fallen. Slowly, they both woke up. Pika-Pee? Pikachu said affectionately. Pikachu, you're back. Ash was so happy that his body was itself again. Then they remembered where they were and sat up to see what was happening. Solars had the Pokemon control device aimed at the ceremony platform. N was in a body cuff on the ground, but he called up to Ghetsis. Do you really want to make the same mistake all over again? He asked. Remember back all the horrible things that happened when you first summoned Reshiram? That won't happen this time, Ghetsis said, smug. Because we now have the Pokemon control device. I have no need for you anymore. As Ghetsis approached the Lightstone, the 10 torches encircling it each lit themselves. Ghetsis held up his Team Plasma Scepter. The torch flame shot upward and connected into a fiery, spinning sun that blasted down onto the rock floor, leaving a circle of red light. The circle was soon surrounded by many more circles made of intricate patterns and symbols, all glowing red. Then the Lightstone shimmered with white energy. Oh, legendary Pokemon Reshiram, Ghetsis said to it. Come forth and ignite your flames and descend into our world once more. The Lightstone began to pulse with light. N called out to it. Don't do it, Reshiram. You mustn't appear. For your own good. You must remain in the shape of the Lightstone, no matter what. In the distance, Ash was startled to hear N. He jumped up to get closer. Beams of white light were coming out of the Lightstone. Ghetsis raised the bottom of his scepter towards it, and it began floating up into the air. Team Plasma, stop it now, Ash cried. But it seemed to be too late to stop what had already begun. Chapter 8. Suddenly, a thick fog rolled in. 2 attacks blasted down from it, the first knocking away the guards around N, and the second breaking off his body cuff. Solange recognized the moves. That's Psybeam and Magical Leaf. It's Concordia and Anthea, Ash said. They've come to rescue N. Iris was ready to make her own escape as well. It's you, she called to her Pokemon, who was hidden under her hair. Think you can break this band? Exu immediately started pounding away at the metal band. Meanwhile, from within the mysterious fog, Concordia and Anthea spoke to N with an echoey voice. What exactly has happened to you? And stood up and tried to make them understand what he was fighting for. Listen to me, he said. Team Plasma is trying to awaken Reshiram. If they're successful, the tragedy that occurred years ago will surely be repeated. Reshiram was filled with so much rage. I have to find out why. If not, we'll never be able to understand one another. Two members of Team Plasma rushed over, but N threw them off while still addressing his former companions. Without understanding, people in Pokemon are doomed. Doomed without a future. I want Reshiram to believe in humanity. N, return with us, Concordia said from the fog. We cannot afford to lose you, Anthea agreed. N refused. I will not run away, he said. If you really want Pokemon to be happy, then battle with us, side by side. Two pairs of eyes appeared in the fog. Ash recognized them as Concordia's and Anthea's Pokemon, Gardevoir and Gothitelle. Aldith also noticed. She immediately told Solaris to fire the Pokemon control device at them, even though they were hidden behind the fog. Ash saw the beam hit the Pokemon. Oh no! He cried. All right, Aldith said. Now use your powers in the service of Team Plasma, she ordered. Concordia and Anthea were confused and dismayed. They asked their Pokemon what was wrong, but both Pokemon just attacked, knocking the young women over. Gardevoir and Gothitelle had been transformed into Team Plasma's weapons. Back on the platform, the 10 torches blasted fire into the air, which formed a glowing ball surrounding the Lightstone. It got bigger and bigger. Answer, Reshiram, Ghetsis cried. We are awaiting your momentous return to our world. As everyone watched, the Lightstone erupted in a huge flash, transforming into Reshiram. The huge, white, legendary Pokemon spread its wings in the air and let out a giant cry. While their captors were distracted, Exew finally broke through Iris's hand. Band. Thanks, Iris said. Now go and see if you can freeze the land too. Exew! It responded eagerly and leaped over to Salan. Reshiram landed on the stone ground right in front of N, who looked up at it, suddenly fearful. But Ghetsis didn't seem afraid. Reshiram, welcome, he said confidently. I am Ghetsis. I have been anxiously awaiting your return. The legendary Pokemon let out a furious cry. Ghetsis responded, I expected you'd be angry. That doesn't matter. You shall be my weapon. He pointed his staff at Reshiram as Solaris aimed the Pokemon control device's beam, and then fired it. Reshiram cried out in pain as it tried to shake off the device's hold. Blue sparks flashed around its body, but it was soon overtaken. Its eyes glowed red. Solaris smiled, satisfied. Reshiram is now completely under our control, he boasted. It's perfect. I'm incredible beyond words. Ghetsis was eager to harness the vast white Pokemon's power. Hear me, Reshiram, he said. By the order of Team Plasma, I command you to engulf those people in flames. Reshiram let out a blast of fire, and then another. And blew toward Concordia and Anthea as Ash and Pikachu braced themselves against the wind. Members of Team Plasma tumbled through the air along with dust and debris. Run away, or you're finished, Looker called to Iris and Salan. Meowth's tail caught fire and he sprinted around helplessly before jumping behind a bush to put it out. Jessie and James were bracing themselves behind a rock, impressed by Reshiram's power. Imagine Reshiram on call 24 hours a day, Jessie marveled. Then Reshiram shot a fusion flare fireball at a stone wall, blasting it apart. Members of Team Plasma and their Pokemon were blown into the distance by the force, but Ghetsis didn't even notice. He was just satisfied with his new weapon. Incredible power, he said to himself, looking up at Reshiram. Jessie and James were not impressed with that kind of leadership. How self-centered can you get? Jesse said. Getsus doesn't seem to care what happens to his team, James added. Nearby, Solaris seemed as greedy as Getsus. He studied the readouts of Reshiram's power on his Pokemon Control Device computer screen. These numbers are impressive indeed, but there's still more. Reshiram's potential is far, far greater than this, he said. Reshiram's eyes glowed red as it roared. Yes, let's prove it. Use Fusion Flare, Solaris commanded. Reshiram shot another fireball, sending several Golurk flying. Luckily, Iris, Celine, and Professor Juniper ended up sheltered behind some rocks. They checked up on one another, and Celine called out Crustle to cut through the professor's body cuff. Still in his hiding spot, Ash had seen enough. We've got to do something, Pikachu, he said. My friends, the Pokemon. We've got to rescue all of them. Pikachu, Pikachu agreed. Just then, N, Concordia, and Anthea approached Ash, and so did Team Plasma's group of Liepard. Pikachu, use Thunderbolt, Ash said, and Pikachu charged up and aimed the attack. Team Rocket wasn't happy with how things were going. If we don't do something, they'll steal the world from us, Jessie said, her hands on her hips. We've got to grab that machine and scram out of here, Meowth agreed. Then our Team Rocket empire will become reality, James said. They looked at Getsus proudly surveying the devastation Reshiram had caused, and agreed that they'd never be okay with him as their boss. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice said, You guys! Team Rocket whipped around and realized who it was. Looker of the International Police. But Looker wasn't there to get them into trouble. You're the only ones who can get us out of this awful mess, he said. Help us out, please. Us? Help you? James asked. What for? But Meowth had a good reason. For our rep, he said. Jessie agreed. Team Rocket's time to shine. Chapter 9. While Ash and Pikachu were battling the Liepard, Barrett called over the radio to Solaris. Aim the Pokemon Control Device at Pikachu, he said. Solaris again locked Pikachu into the device's sights. Then Ash jumped in front of his Pokemon pal. No way, he cried. I'm going to protect Pikachu no matter what. That's foolish of you, Solaris told him. Sacrificing yourself for your friend won't do you any good. He locked the beam sights back onto Pikachu, who was between Ash's feet. Then Meowth's face filled his computer screen. Yo, Meowth cried. Who is that? Solaris asked. Ash was just as surprised to see his longtime rival helping him out. Meowth extended his glowing claws. You're gonna love this, Meowth said, then slashed at the members of Team Plasma and Liepard around him with fury swipes. They ran away. Why are you helping us? Ash asked Meowth. Don't sweat it, Meowth said. Hide. They ran behind a large stone, and Meowth said, This Torip helper is going to give you one shot. He pointed out Jessie and James with Looker nearby. We're all working together to destroy that device. I gotcha, Ash replied. Thanks for the help. He offered to lure Team Plasma away from the Pokemon Control Device. Pikachu, you stay here. If they see you, they'll try to control you. Pikachu was sad to not be joining Ash. Don't worry about a thing, buddy, Ash said. We're going to protect you. And Concordia and Anthea came out from hiding nearby, and Ash filled them in. You should stay here and protect everybody, he said to Anne. But how are you going to destroy the device? Anne asked. It's being protected by a bunch of brainwashed Pokemon, Meowth added. We'll just force our way in, Ash answered. Both Pikachu and Meowth weren't sure that was the best idea. Neither were N, Iris, or Looker, who all called for him to stop. It was too dangerous. But Ash charged ahead. Jesse and James had their own plan of attack. His job is a little more than getting their attention, James said. While we're doing the heavy lifting, Jesse added. Let's go. They ran off to Looker's surprise. You're wasting your time, Aldith called after all of them. Our Pokemon will stop you. And just a moment later, Ash had to stop short, surrounded by all the Pokemon under the control of Team Plasma. Conkeldurr, Timburr, Golurk, Liepard, Gothitelle, and Gardevoir. Pikachu couldn't leave its best pal alone in a situation like that. Pika-Pee! As Pikachu ran out of its hiding spot, Meowth called, Wait, you could get hurt. Ash saw it coming and said, No, Pikachu. But Pikachu kept sprinting, and Ash knew he couldn't change its mind. Okay, if you're not going to stay hidden, then use Quick Attack and move fast. As Pikachu blasted ahead with its move, and admired the connection Ash had with his Pokemon. Ash may not be able to hear a Pokemon's inner voice, but he sure understands their feelings, Ed said to Concordia and Antia. Isn't that the idea we've been searching for all this time? Up on the cliff, Saurus had Pikachu in his sights again. He was just about to fire the Pokemon control device, but Pikachu dodged forward faster than he could have followed. Ash jumped backward as the Golurk stomped right where he'd just been. Then the Golurk cornered Ash, and Pikachu had landed too far away to help. But an attack hit Golurk right in the back, knocking it away. It was Dragon Rage from Iris's Exew. You just leave this to us, Ash, Iris called from nearby. But Iris and Exew were surprised by the group of Timburr, Conkeldurr that suddenly came over, and even more surprised by the moves that hit the Pokemon and stopped them from hurting Ash. They came from Team Rocket. It was a defense from Yamask, Woobat, and Meowth. We'll handle these jerks, Jesse said. Long enough for you to give them the works, James said. Make me proud of you, twerps, Meowth said. Iris and Exew cheered on Ash and Pikachu as they raced toward Team Plasma. Ghetsis commanded Reshiram. Get them! Coming face to face with the enormous legendary Pokemon stopped Ash in his tracks. Then he came back to his senses. Use Electro Ball and aim for the device, he said to Pikachu. Pikachu leaped forward and was in the middle of executing its move when Saurus hit it with the beam from the Pokemon control device. It knocked Pikachu out of the air. Ash ran toward his Pokemon, but he was thrown backward in a blaze of electricity, and caught him. Then they realized what was happening. Amazing! Pikachu's fighting the device, fighting off the evil and trying to maintain control, N said. Pikachu was alternately crackling with lightning as itself, and glowing blue with mind-controlled red eyes. Iris and Celine ran over to help encourage Pikachu. Ash said to his Pokemon, Pikachu, you can't let the device beat you. You can win this. I know you can. Saurus thought they were being ridiculous. My, you really like to dream, don't you? He said. My device is able to control the likes of Reshiram. What hope does your little Pikachu have of resisting it? Pikachu walked toward Reshiram, eyes blazing red but also crackling with lightning. Impossible, Saurus said. There's no way you can resist. But Pikachu was resisting, acting against what Saurus had programmed. Pikachu! Pikachu's thunderbolt burst upward, surrounding Reshiram. It screamed in the blast. And said, I can hear its voice. Reshiram's consciousness has returned. I sense great pain. Ash and his friends watched the Pokemon in shock as it seemed to struggle within the Thunderbolt's electric charge. It's trying to use Pikachu's Thunderbolt to escape the device's control, Cillian realized. Ghetsis was not happy. He approached Saurus. What is the meaning of this? He cried. Raise the output. You must take control of Pikachu. Saurus again hit Pikachu with the device's beam. Pikachu's eyes glowed red, and it marched stiffly forward. But Ash and his friends were still on Pikachu's side. Don't give up, Pikachu, Ash called. You've got to stay strong, Iris cried. Pikachu was still fighting hard against the device's control. It again tried to shake it off with a massive thunderbolt. Pikachu, can you hear my voice? Ash called. Destroy the device. Use Electro Ball. Though its eyes were still glowing red, Pikachu heard him. It fired off Electro Ball. Reshiram also heard, and at the same time, it sent a fusion flare. The two attacks hit the Pokemon control device one after the other. It exploded in a burst of smoke. Chapter 10. All the Pokemon that had been under the device's control suddenly came back to themselves. The red glow left their eyes, and they looked around cautiously. They no longer had to fight against their will or against their friends. The Torps did it, James cried. Pikachu's simply incredible, Jessie said. Don't forget, teamwork led this race, Meowth added. N seemed shocked. Does that mean we won? Pikachu slowly opened its eyes, then leaped into Ash's arms as he ran over. You were awesome, Pikachu, Ash said, giving his best pal a big hug. Iris, Solan, and the rest of Ash's friends were thrilled at Pikachu's success. Saurus was looking down at the broken Pokemon control device in shock. I can't believe it. It can't be true, he said. I guess it's something you'll never understand, Anne said to him. Nothing stronger than the trust between Ash and his Pokemon. But Saurus didn't listen. My theories are indisputable. I won't quit, he declared. Reshiram gave a loud cry as it hovered in the air above them. Ash wondered what it was going to do next. Anne looked up at Reshiram. That voice. The fierce voice of rage, he said, sensing the legendary Pokemon's feelings. Although Saurus's control device was broken, he could still see information about Pokemon on his computer. He was amazed at what he was seeing. Incredible! Reshiram's power is far greater now than when I was controlling it, he said. How can that be? Reshiram roared and let out an enormous blast of blue fire. It pummeled the ruins, exploding Ghetsis' helicopter. Flames and thick smoke blew past as everyone braced against the flying debris. Reshiram roared again. If it kept attacking, it would destroy the entire area. Anne called out to the Pokemon. Reshiram, please try to control your anger. You've got to listen to us, Ash added, and continued. You're not your enemies. People and Pokemon can live peaceably together. Reshiram stopped its cry and turned to look at Anne, who stepped closer to it, keeping eye contact. You must know our feelings, he said. How we truly care about you deep within our hearts. And that feeling will always be there. Reshiram seemed to understand, and it became less angry. Ghetsis, however, was still angry. Reshiram, this is unacceptable, he yelled, but Aldith and Barrett knew they were beaten. They grabbed Ghetsis to pull him back. We must retreat, Barrett said. Looker wasn't going to let that happen. Don't let them escape, he cried. Ash was ready to help. He tossed a Pokeball, calling, Crocodile, Stone Edge! Solan ordered Rock Slide from Crustle, and Iris tossed a Pokeball to call Dragonite to use Ice Beam. Suddenly, the Team Plasma members were trapped, surrounded by giant boulders and encased in ice. The Pokemon high-fived one another as their trainers praised their work. Reshiram let out another roar. It wasn't angry this time. It was ready to leave. But N called out, Reshiram, wait! He looked up at the legendary Pokemon in the air, and it studied him. I've always wanted to meet you, N continued. The last time I saw you, all I could feel from your heart was rage and anger. And even now, I can sense your anger. I have to know something. You saw the way we joined together and battled evil here at these ruins, people and Pokemon alike. How did you feel when you witnessed that? Reshiram lowered its head slightly, locking its gaze with N's and communicating its feelings. After a moment, N said, I see. Thanks so much. The way we believe in Pokemon, I'm wondering if you could believe in people in the same way. Just like you, I'll keep fighting for the ideal world that all of us can live in. Reshiram reared back and roared, then turned and soared off into the sunlight streaming down from the clouds. Iris walked over. When Reshiram answered your question, what did it say? She asked Anne. Well, how can I put it? Anne tried to find the words. You don't have to tell us right now, Ash said, to the surprise of Iris, Celine, and Pikachu, who were very curious. Why is that? Anne asked. Ash answered, because if I ever meet Reshiram again, I want to ask for myself. That'll give us something to look forward to, right? Pikachu, Pikachu agreed, and approached his former companions. Concordia, Anthea, don't you think you've seen a lot of things that you could never have seen from within the fog? He said. From now on, stay with me. Let's travel out here in the sun. But travel to where? Concordia asked. To the ideal. To work toward turning that ideal into a reality, Anne said. But to do that, I need you both to help me. The women both smiled in agreement. They were ready to join their friend. Suddenly, the sound of sirens rang through the ruins. The international police had finally made it. Getsus, Solaris, Aldith, and Barrett were loaded into a van and taken into custody. Thank you, Ash, Lurker said, getting into his police car. I wouldn't have been successful without your help. We'll meet again. Ash waved as he drove off. Take care of yourself, Detective Looker. Professor Cedric Juniper, however, was less happy with how the situation had turned out. This is terrible, he cried, wrenching his hair. The Lightstone was a historic discovery. Then two of his assistants ran over. They just heard of some new ruins to go explore. The professor was immediately excited to go help with his new excavation. He called to his team to pack up. We won't be meeting again, he said to Ash, Iris, and Celine. Until we do. The three friends rolled their eyes. Meanwhile, Team Rocket was running off into the sunset. So catching Pikachu is completely worth the effort after all, James said. That Pokemon continued to prove its worth. Not to mention taking care of that annoying Team Plasma, Jessie said. Jessie, James, and Meowth all gave a cheer for Team Rocket. They were feeling great. N was ready to leave. He, Concordia, and Anthea had come over to say goodbye to Ash, Iris, and Celine. Thank you, he said. It's now the right time for the three of us to take up this journey together, to create an ideal world for people in Pokemon. Great, Ash said. He was happy for his friend to pursue his dream. He was also happy with how this journey had turned out. They'd stopped Team Plasma, and it had been an amazing experience meeting the legendary Pokemon Reshiram. Now Ash was ready for his next adventure.